Greetings everyone and welcome back to the Vintage Sewing Machine Garage YouTube channel. You are looking at a first time machine for me on my workbench, and that is the white brand model. It also happens to be white in color, but the white brand model 510. This is a machine that I would say is falls into the hybrid category of machines. When I say hybrid, what I'm really talking about are machines that are mostly still metal, but we're moving forward in time by the time we get to the 70s. And when we get to the 70s, what we discover is that the manufacturers are introducing more and more plastic into the machines. However, I have featured hybrid sewing machine models on this channel before, and I always tell people that if you have one or are interested in one, they can be restored, just be mindful that you've got to be extra careful with anything that might be plastic, because once that plastic breaks or fails, for many of these machines, there are no replacements. There are replacement plastic gears for Bernina, some of the Bernina vintage models, but that's not the case for many of the other brands, so keep it in mind. So I have been going through the machine, before I go any further, if you are new to my channel, welcome. If you are a long-term viewer, welcome. But regardless of whatever your status is as a viewer, if you have not, please consider supporting my channel, and you can easily do so by clicking on a link on this video or anywhere on this channel. They're all over the place. This says Buy Me a Coffee, and when you click there, you will go straight to my own Buy Me a Coffee page. It's got Vintage Sewing Machine Garage right on it. You'll know where you are when you get there, and you can donate to support my efforts to find and rescue more sewing machines. This particular white 510 was brought to me by a client, and a couple of things that were rather fascinating about it. First of all, you'll notice that by the time we get into this period, this has got to be mid to late 70s, because and I recently came across the user manual, which is really long. You know, the manuals get rather thick as you go forward in time, and I think it's around 1977. So what's unusual about it? It's made in Japan. By 1977, most of the production of domestic sewing machines, this does not count industrials, but for domestic home sewing machines, most of the companies that had been producing them in Japan have already offshored from Japan, which was the country that domestic production in North America and Europe was offshored to, for the most part. Then Japan started to offshore to Taiwan. But this one still was made in Japan, interestingly enough. And it surprised me, it has a motor that is 1.3 amps. As I covered in an earlier video on this machine, it has a timing belt, not a timing chain. And the belt on this one appears to be in great shape. Be very mindful. Some older machines you can get belts for. I have not seen one for this specific model. So be kind to your belt, and as I've mentioned before, don't get oil or grease on those rubber belts. They don't suffer that very well. It's not good. It can dramatically accelerate their degradation. What else to say about this machine? Oh, I did mention, by the time we get to the 70s, a lot of your front tension dials have gone away, and so they put it on the side. And this machine, I've already covered, how it was threaded. It's threaded in a different manner than in the past. One thing I'd like to do, I've already wound the bobbin and gotten it inside here, but I wanted to show you how that works. Let's get our camera up a little higher, and we'll talk about the path for bobbin winding. It's not particularly unusual or difficult. So you have two thread spools in the back here, right? So there's one that is holding my my top sewing thread here, but then there's one right here. I don't know if it shows, but it's right beside it. So when I wind the bobbin, I take I just use the extra spool pin that is available to me. Sometimes, depending on the machine that you have and the way it's designed, you sometimes have to take off your top thread spool. You don't have to unthread the machine, but you do need to take that off if you need the spool to wind a bobbin. In other machines, you don't. It just depends. But this machine does not have a pin anywhere else, so I'm going to, and the manual backs this up, but I had already decided that I was going to use the extra spool pin. Now, what you want to do is you want to take your bobbin thread spool, get a hold of mine here, and I'm going to just put this on. I'm just using the back. This machine was designed for double needle stitching. That's why it has two. But I'm just going to use that extra spool pin for my bobbin thread. Okay, so you'll notice that there's a piece here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come on the inside. I don't need to move my top thread. And I'm going to come here and I'm going to come under this little extension here. There's like a chrome extension. You may be able to see if I shift the camera slightly. And I'm going to, actually, I know what will help. Let's just shift the machine closer to us. There we go. There's a sort of an extended, it's like a thread guide basically. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come under it, okay? And then from there, I'm going to open up the lid of the machine, hopefully without smacking the camera. All right, what do we see up here? This is where you have access to more. So the way you thread this machine is you come around. I'm going to come here, right? Got my thread, and I'm going to come around this post, and then there's a thread guide right there. You guys see that? Let's turn the camera and lower it. Maybe zoom in. It'll make more sense to you. Let's see here. I'll lower us down just a bit, get a little bit better perspective on this. So again, and I'll do it again for you. Okay, so I'm coming around. I'm over here, right? This is how I've done it based on what I think the manual is trying to tell us. And then I come around and I catch it in this thread guide here. And from there, there's not much more to this process. You will take your bobbin, and this bobbin, by the way, is not one I've seen before. I don't know if the white company had the Japanese create a special bobbin for them or not. So the bobbin is loaded, but what I'll do is I will get another bobbin to sort of demonstrate this for you. Okay, so the bobbin that this machine uses is not this, but it's a smaller. It's not quite as wide as this. What I'm holding is a featherweight bobbin. Do not use a featherweight bobbin. It will not fit. But it resembles this a little bit, okay? But it will serve our purpose for demonstrating how you're going to set it to wind. So basically, after I've gotten my thread guides hit here, I'm simply going to do basically what you always want to do when you're getting your bobbin ready to wind. And we'll shift our camera angle again so we don't get our fat knuckles in the way of our viewing audience. Okay, so I take the bobbin, I go inside with the thread, right? I come inside and then I thread through one of the holes out. So from the inside of the bobbin, I come here. And you can see how that looks, right? Right, so I'm going to the center of the bobbin and coming out through one of the holes. You'll place the bobbin onto the bobbin post, right? And when you do, you're going to just simply move it over and you'll hear a click, right? There's a spring-loaded piece underneath. And then you have this little nub here. And the purpose of this, again, if I push the bobbin all the way down, I'm not going to do that because this bobbin is not really meant for that post per se. So you push the bobbin down, and then this will line up with the center of the bobbin. And then, of course, you are going to loosen your clutch knob. This machine still has a clutch knob, curiously, even though it's 1977. Now, this clutch knob, the drive shaft behind it is steel, but this knob, and it has a steel bolt that it screws in. It still has a clutch washer. Okay. However, that knob is plastic, so be respectful. Don't go around strong arming it. It will not go well. So again, that's another example of a change in how they were building machines at this point, desperate to cut costs. But anyway, that is essentially how you set up for your bobbin. This is in the instruction manual, but it's a picture, and you know, it's okay, but I'm not always a fan. Anyway, we'll come back up here when I demonstrate some of the alternate stitches that you have at your disposal. But I wanted to kind of show this to make sure that it would be evident as to how to wind a bobbin or set up for winding on a white model 510. All right, everyone. So again, if you're new to the channel, please feel free to subscribe. And I hope this was helpful when you're trying to figure out, okay, where do I wind this? Because bobbin winding, it's not something people always pay very close attention to. But the fact is, just as with threading a machine and getting ready to sew, which I've demonstrated on a prior video on this machine, you got to have your bobbin winder set up properly or it's not going to wind right? And anyway, so I hope that was helpful for those of you who have this machine, or for those of you who are just curious about a machine, you know, I've never seen before until now. Thank you all for watching, and I believe in the next video we'll cover actually, it'll be time to demonstrate the capability of the white 510. We'll see you next time.